We are already through a third of the regular season. Do y'all even feel that way?
No, not at all. For me, no.
Yeah, yeah. I meant that's the reason why I'm asking. But to set this up, we're already through a third of the regular season. We've had some huge games, some intriguing matchups, some huge upsets, and obviously we've had some overachievers and underachievers. So I want to ask you, Eric, starting off with you. Let's talk about the underachievers so far. And I'm going to you for a reason.
Well, okay, I have two. Um,
Okay.
and again, with this panel, this might not be a great choice. Georgia is one. Um,
Okay.
Even though you're undefeated, um,
Mm.
I think Bobo's play calling is kind of sus. Um, Defense looks a little sus sometimes too. You'll get it together, but as of right
Mm-hmm.
now, like I mean, the offense just looks stagnant, and it came alive. It came alive against UAB, but
Mm-hmm.
it's UAB. Um,
Fair.
I, I think you'll be fine, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
just the turnover and everything that you've had the last 2 years, it's a little regressive, but you expect it.
Mm-hmm.
Now for the second one, Adrian, you've known me for a while. I feel like you and I are kind of along the same lengths with our teams. We're ride or die, but
Definitely.
we're honest. Um,
Absolutely.
so let's honestly talk about this shit show team that is the University of Alabama.
Okay,
Um,
let's.
if Nick Saban don't care, Nick Saban needs to get out. He needs to take his little headset off, sit it down on the sideline somewhere, and he needs to walk his ass on out of Tuscaloosa, go down to Juniper, Florida, with his little $15 million home, and he can chill down there. I want a coach that's actually interested in playing this game.
Mm.
On the sidelines, he is lethargic. He looks like he don't care anymore. That fire is not there,
Mm.
and I'm tired of it. I'm tired of
Mm.
it.
Mm.
Tommy Reese should
Mm.
have never stepped foot on a football field in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, or in that press box, or wherever his little dumbass sits. He needs to go on back to
Mm.
Notre Dame,
That's
just
a fact.
Mm.
and take Buckner with him. Just slide on back that way. And I had some smoke for Kevin Steele, but
I,
honestly, the
Kevin,
defense ain't even that
Kevin
bad.
doing his thing. Yeah.
Defense ain't even that bad. So the only reason I think the defense looks kind of bad is because the offense can't sustain a drive long enough to keep them off the field for more than 5 seconds.
Yeah.
Um, don't know what's going on with this roster. This is the worst roster that I think that we have had constructed since maybe 2007.
Mm.
We don't have a true
That's
quarterback,
honest.
although
Ooh, you being honest.
I do love Milrow. I now I've got the four we're supporting. I like
Right.
Jalen, but and he's the best that we have right now. But
And
he's not great.
that's what I was gonna say. Yeah.
The running back room, solid. I can't be mad at the running back room. Offensive line, and with all the talk that we have about they're so heavy, they're so big, they're so strong, they're so great. Swiss cheese, bro. Texas, they were just like, oh, you want a free shot? Here you go, bro.
That's
Like,
real.
what are we doing? We scored 13 points against USF. South Florida, it took us to the second half to score
Mm.
points.
Mm.
And that's after an hour rain delay in halftime. Like,
Yeah.
what are we doing? What are we doing?
Yeah.
It's pathetic. It is absolutely pathetic. I I told my friend who was a Georgia fan, and we decided that this year we were going to be civil to each other, because last year it was rough. We were. I mean, it was all jokingly, but
Yeah, for sure.
we were kind of at each other's throats. I told him at halftime in the Ole Miss game, I said, I'm done. I'm done with this team. I will see you in 2024. We are done. I don't care. This team is ass cheeks. I am going to protect my peace this year. Because
Damn.
who made, who, we block a punt, and I'm sitting here like, all right, first and goal on the 1 yard line, punch this bad boy in.
Let's go.
We got the momentum. It's over. Who the hell decides to line up in shotgun on 1st and goal from the 1 and snap the ball 15 yards over his head? Like, who is calling these dumbass plays? Because they need to get fired. They need to go. I can do coach's suggestion on Madden. I can do it better than Tommy Reese can apparently call these plays. And if Nick Saban saw that man line up in shotgun, he should have called timeout and been like, what the hell are we doing? What are we doing?
Right.
Turn around and hand that ball off to Jason McClellan and call it a day.
Right.
What are we doing?
That's a fact. Well, that's a fact.
Yeah. I mostly agree with your rant, and like you said, we're definitely very respectful to each other. We talk a little trash here or there, but one thing that I've noticed about Alabama this year, they just seem very disjointed.
Yeah.
Like the whole benching of Jalen Milroe, that still doesn't sit right with me. That was super weird. And even though, yes, they were in damn near a hurricane down there, the way that offensive line played against USF, that's concerning, man. You should just win just being Alabama
and
against 90% of your schedule. Just like how I say the same thing about Georgia.
The worst part is they kept saying, out of the 121 qualified teams, USF's defense ranked at 121 last year. And I'm like, oh, cool. So that basically means our fans in the stands could come in and should be able to score 30 points against these fools. But our starting offense can't get a ball past like a 3-yard gain. Like, what are we doing? What are we doing? And the whole Milroe benching, I agree. Something's not right. Something with the words that Nick Saban has used about, I promised all 3 quarterbacks they'd get a shot. They did.
That's weird.
I don't buy
it.
I don't buy it.
Nick Saban. I've never heard him say anything like that.
It leads back to when we had that competition in 2014 with Blake Sims and Jake Coker. They were like, yeah, both quarterbacks will see the field. Blake came out, did Blake's thing. Coker never saw the field until next year. So something's not right. And I don't know what it is, and I don't know how to fix it right now. If that team that showed up in the second half shows up for the rest of the year, I'm okay. Right. But if the team that showed up for the last 8, 9, 10 quarters, from the start of the Texas game to halftime at Ole Miss shows up, we ain't got nothing to talk about for the rest of the year because this team's going nowhere fast. I'll see you at the Tax Slayer Bowl.
Brad, what you got, man? Who's underachiever so far?
As I sit and I look at the top 5, I gotta go with Ohio State, man. Like, what are they doing? And what is the AP hanging on to that they're still top 4 team in the nation?
Facts.
I mean, Washington's better than Ohio State right now. You can make a case for Florida State being better than Ohio State right now. You can make a case for Florida. Wait, what did I say? Florida. I said Washington.
Oh, okay.
Florida State. And, Washington, Florida State. And I'll even throw a wild card. Penn State possibly is looking better than Ohio State at this moment. What are we hanging on to? They're getting the best players in the nation, and they barely scraped by Notre Dame. And I get it. Notre Dame's a tough team this year, but that game was more so gagged by Notre Dame's coach than it was won convincingly by Ohio State.
10 players, man. 10 players. I don't know how he did it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, what are we hanging on to? They gagged against Georgia on the field goal. They don't have a QB. Their running game looks suspect. Yeah. Marvin Harrison Jr., is that what we're hanging on to?
It's got to be the name recognition. That's the only thing I can think of.
That's fair, man. That's fair. My underachievers, I gotta definitely say, I hear you, Eric, on Georgia, but I would counter that by saying, if anything Georgia related that I'm disappointed in so far in watching the games and everything is the consistency of the defense.
Agreed.
And mainly the line of scrimmage. That's really been something that Georgia has hung their hat on. That's what won us that first national championship, dominating the line of scrimmage against y'all.
Yep.
And then going into that second natty, it's been a thing where we had a Jalen Carter, we had a Jordan Davis, we had a Devontae Wyatt. We're still looking for that consistent player, that game wrecker on that line. Should have been Bear Alexander? I'm probably saying it probably should have been Bear Alexander.
Yeah.
But we don't have him anymore. So one of those guys got to step up. That would be one of those underachievers that I would throw out there. Another underachiever, and probably the biggest one for me, Clemson. Hands down, Clemson. You not only get beat by Duke, you get bullied by Duke, and you quit versus Duke. For those people who watched that game, the second half, that was an ugly one. And that's something
for sure.
Yeah, that's something that we wouldn't expect of a Dabo coach team. I know I make fun of him all the time, and a lot of other fans make fun of some of the crazy stuff that he says, but when it's said and done, his team quit in that game. And they had a shot at beating Florida State last weekend. It was a really good game, competitive game, but it was a lot of mismanagement. And their offense isn't clicking, especially considering they brought Garrett Riley. They brought Lincoln's little brother in to run that offense. That was supposed to be the cure-all. And right now, they're not in contention for the ACC, which is crazy as hell to me. I would have thought at the very least.
Because that should be there.
Exactly. Or they're going back and forth with Florida State, running it back at the ACC title to see who wins that. But now you got to depend on Florida State losing 3 games. And you got to depend on Duke losing 2 or 3 games so you can actually make it. So Tax Slayer Bowl may be Clemson. I don't know if Alabama's going to be in it, but I know Clemson may be in it, man.
We'll run it back with Clemson.
Well, at least Bama loss is to Texas, and Texas is steadily, rising up the chart. If Texas stay in that top 3, and you guys continue to find a way to win, it doesn't look as bad.
No,
you lost to a top 3 team in the nation.
And SEC schedule just started. We half dominated the game that Lane kind of just gave up on it in the second half.
He definitely quit.
I don't know what we were doing there, but whatever. I guess trying to make the resume look good for next year when he's our head coach.
That's a hot take.
I got a lot of those. But I agree with you. That Florida State Clemson game, outside of that last 3 minutes, was a fantastic game, but there was so much clock mismanagement on both sides.
Definitely. Florida State should have went on and won it in regulation, but they seemed so rushed and it seemed like they were a fish out of water. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't that level of calmness that you would expect of someone that's going to make a playoff run. So
with Travis hurt, it kind of, you wonder how much that plays into it.
True, very true. All right, so let's talk about the overachievers. I'm gonna start with you, Brad. What team, what player can you focus on and saying he or they have overachieved so far?
Man, you just mentioned his name, Bear Alexander. Man, he's been a wrecking ball for our defensive line, and you can tell the guys that we got from the SEC play a whole different style of football from the Pac-12. Marshawn Lloyd, he's a violent, aggressive runner, man.
I like him.
Yeah. He is a beast. And Bear Alexander, forget about it. Forget about it. Listen, he's my favorite defender in the nation right now. That kid, man, listen. Oh my gosh, he's a beast, man. He's a bear. That's exactly what it is. He gets after it. And it seems like he's a leader on that line. They're blowing up plays. I feel a lot more confident at the end of the game when Bear is out there, and I know he's going to at least give it 1,000% effort. If we don't make the play or whatever happens, that's fine. But this year, I can rest my hat in confidence that line is aggressive. They're attacking. We got Anthony Lucas from Texas A&M.
Yeah, I like
and
him.
It just motivated guys. It just motivated guys that was previously on the team to step their game up, man.
Yeah.
So I got to go overachiever right now. Bear Alexander. He's going to be a first-round defensive lineman. Mark my words.
I feel that. Eric, what you got? Overachiever.
You know, it's hard to argue that Colorado's still not an overachiever. It's still really hard to argue it. They come out and they beat a top 25 team week 1. You know, they cleaned Nebraska's clock because Nebraska apparently forgot how to play football for the last 20 years. Adversity at Colorado State, overcame it even with Travis Hunter being hurt. And I mean, yeah, they got their clock cleaned against Oregon, but they've still won 2 more ball games than they won a whole year ago. Not to mention, you know, the 46 scholarship players that transferred out and the rest of them that quit on the team. Prime's still working with a cobbled together squad.
Yeah.
It's just, I still think it's hard to argue. And in terms of players, Shador, I don't think any of us saw Shador coming out and just absolutely dominating the league. Outside of, again, Bo leaving in Oregon.
Right. But before that, I meant the dude damn near already threw for 1,000 yards. Like, he's putting up numbers.
Absolutely, like video game numbers, like Miami versus Denver numbers. But you know, it's just hard to argue with anything that Colorado not being an overachiever right now.
Yeah, I feel that. My overachiever is South Carolina, but mainly Spencer Rattler. Like, I know they lost against North Carolina in the opener. I know they lost against Georgia. But if you look at those games with Spencer Rattler, the dude is wheeling and dealing, you know. Plus, he's getting his head kicked in while doing it because their offensive line is trash. He got sacked like 8 times in the first week. And, you know, if I want to say he has the highest passing rating in the SEC currently, in my opinion, he's performed as the best quarterback in the SEC. So maybe that's speaking a little bit more on SEC play versus anything. But the dude has been balling out, man. The dude's been balling out. And especially when you think about his story of him getting benched at Oklahoma, an undefeated Oklahoma team. He got benched, even though Caleb was better in retrospect. But the dude got benched, transferred, came to a used tire of a program in South Carolina, and has actually won some games. And going into this year, where we all thought they're an afterthought, whatever, South Carolina, he's actually putting up numbers and competing. Is he winning all the games? No, but he's competing. So I would definitely say Spencer is my overachiever so far in the season.
Shane keeps that Beamer ball, keeps it true to form because they always have them good quarterbacks, but nobody to block for them. So it's true Beamer ball right there.
It's rough.